right, let's talk bucket fillers and fire hose nozzles and then all the connections we need to make this work. So I've been working on this for a long time. I don't know when I came up with this whole idea. I don't think I've ever seen this before. I don't want to take credit if it's not due. Maybe somebody else has done this before, but when I was building the wash bay, one of the things that I wanted to do was put a hose bib up higher, and then I wanted to put like a 24 or 28 or 18-inch hose, whatever was necessary to fill up my buckets. Because for years and years and years, before I had this wash bay area that I had carte blanche to build whatever I wanted to, I'd always been dealing with a single hose, right? So you have a single hose bib and you're always connecting and disconnecting things. And so I wanted a hose bib that was designed and set up just for filling up the buckets, so I didn't have to go through this whole process of taking everything apart. And so I decided to go figure out how could I find a little short stubby hose that I could use to fill up the bucket. And of course that proved to be much more difficult than you'd think. Nobody sells a 24-inch long hose, or so I thought, or at least it's not easy to find. And so it's what, 3 or 4 years ago now is when I came up with this idea, which is a water heater hose. This is from Brass Craft, and these fittings are designed for your water heater. And of course, the problem with the water heater is that they require a different type of fitting, right? So we need to convert. This fitting is much less common, and it's much less common to find conversions for this. But we're going from FIP to GHT to then accept our garden hose fittings, which you would have on the hose bib. It's a nice hose. I mean, these were, I think it was like 20 bucks or something like that. It's a polymer braid. You know, obviously it's going to be able to handle filling up a bucket because it's designed to run, 125-degree water through it, and it certainly served the purpose. It's a little thinner than I liked. I wanted it to be a little more stout, but it's pliable, which is key, and then it served the purpose, did the job. And the issue I ran into in attempting to source this when I first started the Access Garage store, this is one of the first products that came to mind that doesn't really exist, that I could offer to people, but it has proved to be much more difficult to get these hoses. I mean, I don't know if Lowe's has some exclusive or something, and then to get these fittings in quantity. In fact, I haven't been able to source the fittings. I don't even know where the heck I got them from, but the FIP to GHT fittings, I kept finding myself needing 3 connections in order to make it work, so I had to go back to the drawing board. And so when I started messing with compressed air and started working on figuring out what I'm going to do for my pressure washing solution, I started digging and ordering all kinds of stuff. And that's when I stumbled upon a little different version of this hose, but I stumbled upon this T316 stainless work of art. Right, just amazing. The flexibility of this hose is insane. It's extremely flexible. You would generally expect a steel type, or if you've ever dealt with AN line, it kinks. If you twist it too much, it'll kink and split and mess up the internal plastic tubing inside. This actually has a ribbed, joined, I don't know what it's made out of, but it has an internal T316 stainless internal, almost like a skeleton that allows you to flex the hose much more than any other hose like this I've ever experienced, and it looks incredible. It's a 3/4 inch internal diameter. The outside diameter is I think 1.25 inches, but this thing is amazing. Now, just like the old buckets over there, which I've taken lots of heat over, and people just can't fathom how it would cost that much. I get it. You can buy a much cheaper option. You can piece together, cheaper versions of things. But if you want the grit guards, and you want the grit guard rollers, and you want the 3-inch casters, and you want the better buckets, I mean, the buckets are 20 bucks a piece. Now I buy them in skids of 200 at a time, so they cost me 11 bucks or something like that, and then add in shipping. So I'm selling them effectively for 20 bucks and making a few dollars on the buckets, which you'd have to pay anyway if you try to buy it yourself. So a lot of people have chosen. I think I've think I've sold about 250 sets of buckets, so it's clearly working. I've had them for 6 months now or so, and people really have, I haven't had any complaints other than a few drop shipping issues. So I'm going to be taking that over here soon anyway. But these, I suspect, will take a similar amount of heat for, and that's part of the reason why I decided to come out with a viable, less costly option that you could choose from. So maybe I could just point to that and keep people off my back. And I listen to what everybody says, but I do what I want and do what I enjoy and do what offer the products that I would pay for and have paid for, and actually have paid much more for, because I had to buy 10 hoses to find this one, right? So anyway, this hose is $200-ish, and I'll show you why here in a second. I mean, just this hose alone is 135 bucks. So take that, we're off to a bad start already on cost, right? So we have, if we're talking about, I'm going to call it the ultimate and the basic version. So the ultimate version will look like this when it's complete. You'll have a coupler on the end of it, which you would take your fire hose nozzle with a plug, and we would take and attach it like so. So I'm going to take you outside and show you how it works in a second here. But we have you're going to place the male plug with a male 3/4 inch GHT or garden hose fitting into your fire hose nozzle, and then we'll connect on the end here. When I ship these to you, I tape and torque them. I've contemplated, there's a lot of labor involved in doing that, but my guess is these require a lot more tape and a lot more torque than most people know. And so for you and me, for both of our benefits, of one, not everybody is super mechanical. Luckily I have my dad, because I'm in the middle. So my dad's taping, torquing, and if he's not doing it, he's overseeing it. So these will be taped and torqued, so we hopefully won't have leaking issues. You also have to be careful with garden hose quick disconnects. They need to be hand tightened, not super torqued. If you torque it too much, then this rubber grommet in here will warp, and then you won't be able to get your fitting inside of it. And so we set these up where they shouldn't leak. If there is a little leak, it's usually from the garden hose fitting. These, and I have to remind people, these are consumables. These aren't like last forever, warranted for 10-year products. In fact, I don't even think they really have a warranty. They're $6. So you buy it, you beat the crap out of it, you throw it away, and you get another one. It's kind of like, it's like a garbage bag. You don't keep reusing it forever and ever and ever. Maybe that's a bad analogy, but I think you get what I'm saying here. And then the other end has the opposite type of fitting or opposite type of connection, where on this end we have the coupler, this end we have our plug, so that, and we'll show you how to here on the hose bib in a second. This will be attached to the hose bib, and you're going to end up with a coupler on the end. So it's going to show up to you like this. Right? And some of you are going to panic and say, oh my gosh, I didn't get the coupler. Well, it's on there. Just detach it. It happens all the time on our hoses. People panic and say, I didn't get all the fittings, until they go out and try to install it, and they realize that we just stick it on here so they don't bounce around in the box. So there's our ultimate bucket filler. I think as of today, I don't think pricing will change, but I think it's $218, and here's why. The fittings that we need, these are T304. I couldn't find anybody that made T316. If you're not familiar with stainless steel types, I'm sure there's a hardness to it that I'm not versed in, but T304 is sort of the standard, like all my shelves are in 304. 304 is not, it's not as corrosive resistant to things like salt water and acids and things like that. T316 is, especially for saltwater applications. Obviously we're not going to have that issue. They don't make this in a T304 hose, so we're stuck with paying the extra for the 316. And then these fittings are in 304, which is a really close match. As you can see, and it doesn't really look much different. So I think we're okay to mix and match. I don't know what the garden hose fittings are, but I'm assuming they're 304. They might even be, what's the other one? Was it 416L or something like that? I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments here. But each one of these, I think one is $32 and the others, no, I think it's like 40 bucks, and the other one is like 30, low 30s, something like that. So we've got $70 in just these two fittings to be stainless, and so, you know, that's a huge cost that adds to this. So you can see what's happening here. And then we need two sets of $15 pairs of quick disconnects. So add it up and you're $200+ for this connection. It doesn't come, as of this moment, doesn't come with a fire hose nozzle because I haven't found it yet. I still like, this is the Adams nozzle. This I think is the best fire hose nozzle for our application. I like fire hose, it just hangs well, it does well for this application. And this, I found, Adams discontinued this, and so I'm going to be talking with Kyle and Matt from Adams, and we're going to see if maybe we can partner together and bring it back. I don't know who they source it from. They might either just give me the name if they're not interested in it. These didn't sell very well. I suspect we're going to change that, right? Because lots of people I think are going to be buying bucket fillers. Maybe I'm wrong, but I guess we'll see. So I found a very similar looking version, a Chinese made version that's nice, but the spray pattern isn't nearly as nice as this. You can see there's a difference in how it works. So I don't know, I just don't like the pattern of this one as much. I've been testing and see the water dripping out of it. I like this one much better. It's a little smaller. It's just, I think it's a better option. It doesn't leak. This was a really cool looking option, this little fire hose nozzle here. The problem is I want to be able to leave if I wanted to, I want to be able to leave the hose bib on or off, but I want to be able to leave it on and have this not leak. And this one drips, it weeps out of the edge, and I've been adjusting it, and I only have one of them. And if this very first one weeps and drips, then what happens if I buy 100 of them? Chances are a large percentage of them are going to be messed up as well, so I don't want that to happen. So fire hose nozzles are coming. I'll probably package it, and add it to this as a full option here at some point. But I'm working on that. I didn't want to wait on the bucket fillers. I have them, so let's get them out. And then here's the, I'm going to call this the basic version. So this will be all brass. So you have brass because we have the brass fittings on the end of the hose, so it just makes sense to stay brass. The only problem with brass, as you see in my old bucket filler, I mean, look how it gets corroded and beat up over time. So these brass ones are half the cost of the stainless ones, so you could always dunk it in some CLR or just buy some extra sets of these and replace them once a year, once every 2 years or something like that. So mine is what, 2.5, 3 years old, so it gets corroded over time, but you can either clean it up, probably use a wire brush and some CLR, or just get some extras and swap them out occasionally. But this is a 3/4 inch, different than my normal inlet hose, which is 5/8. I wanted it to be a little bulkier. This is a 3/4 inch, much less expensive. To be honest, I haven't even added up the cost yet, but it's a fifth of what that one is. It'll be in the description here. Just click on the link and go to the store. But this is the 24 inch, really high-end rubber, Continental, 3/4 inch, industrial grade hose. Still, extremely similar flexibility. This will kink if you torque on it too much. But again, you're not going to need to flex it more than this. I mean, that's how you're going to want it to hang anyway. So this is we'll call this the basic version. So this one comes with, two sets of the quick disconnects in brass. I guess, if you really wanted to, you could probably swap it out for stainless. That doesn't make sense to me because we have brass fittings on the end of the hose, so it would make more sense to just stick with all brass. Keeps the cost down, saves another 15, 18 bucks by doing that, so it makes it much more viable for somebody who doesn't want to spend $200 something on a bucket filler. I get that. So anyway, we'll call that the basic and the ultimate version, and maybe I'll come up with some more clever name. I was thinking budget and baller, but that's kind of douchey. So I just left it up to a much simpler thing. So let's go outside. Let's fill up some buckets with them and show you operation. Let's do the stainless one first. This is the T316, the more expensive one, and so I don't need that. I have the fitting on my my former Adams fire hose nozzle. Again, the other nozzle is just a little better. I'm sorry, this nozzle has a little better spray pattern, one that I prefer over the other. The other's not bad. If we have to use that, I'll source that one, and that'll be the way to go. But I haven't given up hope on finding this and being able to source it. So the first thing you'll do is, again, you'll get a coupler that'll come already pre-installed. You don't need to tape garden hose fittings, but the barbs are spaced. I mean, they only have a few threads, and I know there's a rubber gasket or the rubber grommet, but that doesn't do very well. So I always tape. I tape the heck out of these things. I usually make 6 or 7 wraps, and then again on this, I hand tighten, grip it tight, hand tighten. You could grab some. Channel locks or something and torque it, but you don't want to torque it too much. A little rat killer here. What's up, Orangey? You don't want to torque it too much because again the O-ring will warp and then it won't fit. So it should go and snap in like so. Before we're done, I'll get a tape measure and give you the exact dimension of where my filler is. But I like this. You can see it's hanging. I think you guys can see that it's hanging about 3.5 inches into the bucket. And when we put our fire hose nozzle on, this 24-inch bucket hangs down about halfway down the bucket. So the basic idea here, now this is a Prie quarter turn super stout hose or hose bib. And the nice thing about the Adams, when I twist it tight, it doesn't leak. So I've got water on, I've got pressure, we're pressurized. We do also have some swiveling. The plugs naturally swivel a bit on both ends, so you can twist it if you need to. But the nice thing about the fire hose nozzles, I can twist it and adjust my pattern. The other nice thing about this Adams is if I do get more, I can get a much tighter stream out of it as well. So here's a little closer look on where this goes into the bucket. So you can see it's down about halfway into the bucket, and we have lots of pliability, lots of flexibility. I can turn it off, turn it, and move it into the next bucket very easily, right? So that's why I wanted to swivel a little and have some flexibility to be able to move from bucket to bucket. So that's the general idea behind the ultimate filler. I'm going to take some photos and we'll come and show you the basic version. So a quick little install here on the basic version. I just took the stainless fitting off, and hopefully I don't make a liar out of myself, but you don't. I've got a little bit of tape on here left over, so I'm not going to retape it. Let's see if we can do this without leaking. I'm going to twist this on, give it a good solid hand tighten. That's all you need, and then we'll be able to take our fitting here. So again, we get a little bit of swiveling just like the other. This is the first time I've used this, so obviously we don't have as much pliability as we do with the stainless hose because it's not braided. And then we take our Adams and put it in place. And there we go. We swap our buckets. Get a good solid, nice 24-inch connection for a lot less money. This hose, these crimped on connections are really stout. 3/4 inch hose. I think the 3/4 looks better than the 5/8 and does, I think, a little better for this application. And then of course we could, we run the water out, and if you wanted to, like if you only had a single hose bib, you could then, remove this very simply, just like so. It's pretty awesome, huh? I think it's cool. So check out what that looks like a little closer. So again, I'll be working on sourcing these fire hose nozzles again. Gosh, the Prie hose bib is so nice. Let me go grab a tape measure and get you a dimension here, just in case you're building and you want to know what height I set mine at. So I know I stressed about this for a while. So the center line of my bib is at 46 inches, 45 3/4. The bottom of the hose bib is right at around 44 inches, the outlet. And then that gives me, with the hose drooping here, that gives me about 14 inches from the floor, from the ground, which takes me a little bit further than halfway down the bucket. Right, which is I think a good dimension. I think it's a nice length to have. So you want the center line of this around 45 inches. It doesn't have to be perfect, but somewhere in that vicinity. If your hose bib is at normal height, I would highly recommend you do the more pliable stainless version. This one you're going to probably flex it a bit too much. It'll still work. You would just have to pull it out a little further and then do one of these, which would still be way better than trying to do it a different way. I just like having a dedicated hose rather than just turning this spigot on for the application. So anyway, that's the bucket filler setup, and available in the store. I've been working hard to get these out, and if you have any questions, always hit me up, matt@obsessedgarage.com, and feel free to stop by if you're ever in Lady Lake. 322 Oak Street is OGHQ's address. I've just hired 2 new people this week. It's blowing up. So anyway, thanks for watching this stuff, and stay tuned for more crazy. This I think fits the bill. Because what happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to keep your foot to the floor, to the floor.